Why do you think people in TradFi are so reluctant to look this straight in the eye, see the results in real time? I mean, that MicroStrategy is just rocketed up the charts. How can other companies look at this for so long and not be pushed towards taking a similar approach? Or do you think it's just a slow moving ship and that they are going to do it and it's just going to take some time?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think the first thing is like when I first learned about Bitcoin, somehow it's anti in your head because it's anti everything you were taught. It's the antithesis of like success. It's a digital magic internet money. You know, we don't know who issued it. There's a lot of these things that come up that go against what you learn in traditional finance. And most of those people in those upper echelons of corporations, they've had very successful careers. Everything that they've known and learned has led to nothing but success for them. And the government inflation has made that easy for them in nominal terms. Even with all the zombie company, you might run a zombie company right now on the stock. Like you literally are a zombie company. You're dead. Without the printer, you'd be long gone, but you feel successful because you've trusted the plan. You've trusted the knowledge that it was imparted to you and you don't want to change anything. So I think it's a lot about human pride. And human success. Like I said, I learned from my failures. I think if you got a big CEO or CFO, a lot of them would be bragging about their successes versus reminiscing on their failures. Right. And for me, I always learn better from failure than I do from success. But that's just a mindset, and Bitcoin changes your mindset. That's like that's like the spiritual level of Bitcoin. It changes your incentives. It changes the way you think about things. It changes what you prioritize in your life. And these people just aren't there yet, even though the proof of the pudding is right in front of them and all the math is right there. And you can't argue against the performance. The Bitcoin, the base layer of demand for Bitcoin is growing faster than the internet. So you have all these metrics that they even use to measure the internet with demand and other metrics, and everything's going off the charts and they still won't believe it. The other part of that though is definitely the money printer. What happened when COVID happened? All these companies took out these PPP loans. Like they just got free money. It was a loan that you didn't have to pay back. Well, when the system is giving out money like that, that's what happens. You become dependent upon the system. And when it makes your life easy, you will defend the system, even though you're sacrificing some of your freedoms. And it warps you. It's slave's not the right word, but it's like free. I saw this one meme. It's like a chicken, right? And it's a chicken in a cage. And then the next side of the meme is it's a chicken that's out on the range, but both chickens end up in the slaughterhouse, right? So it's like even if you're a free range chicken, you still end up in the slaughterhouse. And that's a hard pill to swallow, that you are being exploited by the system to create cash flow for treasuries. And then that gets put into their entire system. That's where all cash flows are based on. That's why government debt is called risk-free. Even though there's plenty of risk to it.
No risk because there's no worry. Risk. All the chickens are going to slaughter.
Like I have to put on my website, this is for educational purposes only, right? But then they get to come out and say risk-free, no risk. It's like it's because the government has the ability to print, and when they do that and they send out helicopter money, if things got really bad, let's say the economy turns down and the weakness in the economy as it stands right now becomes more evident. I have no doubt after what they did in COVID that people will be calling for stimulus checks.
Right.
Like once the helicopter money starts, that is on the timeline of moving from inflation to hyperinflation. Helicopter money is a catalyst and an accelerant on that timeline. Once you pass the helicopter money phase, then the system starts to deteriorate much faster than the pre-helicopter money phase. And we are now in that phase right now.
Right. The risk-free term is such an interesting one because when I spent a lot of years in TradFi, and there's a lot of very well educated, very wealthy people that are stuck on that idea. Yeah. That when I would explain the bond math to them, and I would explain the bond seesaw with interest rates and principal and purchasing power, they say, yeah, but I'm going to get all my money back. I'm guaranteed to get my money back. So maybe we could talk a little bit about how that's not really accurate, because of the difference between real yield or real inflation, real interest rates, and what the treasury interest rate is.
Yes.
And how that's eroding purchasing power, which in my mind is like why I'm so excited about your product, because I have a sense that the real interest rate in the market is much higher than 5%. And that even though we feel great that we're now able to get, well, maybe it's 4.5% now, but at one point we were getting 5% on bills. I knew it wasn't keeping pace with the real increase in cost. And therefore my ability to purchase, or my purchasing power, was decreasing, even though I was getting a higher yield on something that matured every month. So maybe explain that for the audience, because I think like your Bitcoin structured note is so crucial to getting a yield that really outpaces the real inflation in the economy, so that if you're saving money, you're not losing purchasing power, and at the same time you're not taking risk in a volatile asset where you're just holding Bitcoin and all of a sudden you've got to rebuild your home because a hurricane wiped it out, and Bitcoin happens to be in a bear market and it's the only asset you have, right? So there is a balance there, and I think your product would solve that problem for a lot of people. So can you talk about that difference between inflation rate, yields on treasuries, real yield versus the yield
absolutely.
we get in the market?
You hit the nail on the head, because that's the problem, right? Every good business solves a problem. And the problem that we solve at People's Reserve with Bitcoin bonds is that there is $300 trillion in the world parked with negative real rates of return. So the two words are this: nominal and real. And when you think nominal, it's just the number you see on your screen. When you think real, you should be thinking purchasing power. And I never could connect the dots
like
why
what's
people
the cost of your eggs, right? At the,
right,
the
like
grocery store, the cost of your gas, the cost of a car, the cost of a house, the cost of a high school or a college education, healthcare, et cetera.
Correct. All of those costs. See, this is why it matters, and this is why you ask your boss for a raise, right? Everybody's excited about getting a raise. Why would you be excited about getting a raise? Well, because if you get a raise, you can buy more stuff. The quality of life and standard of living is going to go up, because the amount of money that you're making is going up faster than prices. So you can buy more goods and services. But if the amount of money that you're making, even if you get a raise, if you're not getting a raise at the same pace at which the costs of these goods and services that you use in your daily life are going up, you're buying less stuff. Therefore, the quality of life and standard of living is going down. And that's kind of where we are in the economy today.
Right. This is why Bitcoiners look at money printing as the most evil thing you could do.
Yeah.
And I think COVID really triggered a lot of people, or opened a lot of people's eyes to this, that when they saw their grocery store bill, I can tell you just my personal grocery store bill for my family used to be $320 a month. It was pretty much like boom, boom, boom.
That's good.
Or not a month,
now
every week.
Per week.
Sorry, every week. Yeah, thank you. Every week. And then at the end of the COVID money printing, I was $500 a week.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
It was, there was so much inflation in just the cost of feeding my family the quality food. Now I could have gone down in quality and, bought, I tried to avoid the entire center of the grocery store, but, I could have bought cheaper products. And unfortunately, a lot of people do. And then it has ramifications on their health. And then therefore increases their exposure to healthcare risk, right? So, this entire money printing system is such a sleight of hand, but very, very evil tool against humanity. And most people want to just immediately blame it on the corporations without any understanding of this real yield versus, real yield versus nominal.
So you've heard Bitcoin is the new gold rush by now. As world leaders on all sides have endorsed it as the future of money, and now you're looking to get started, we'll show you how. It's actually easier than you think. First, go to your nearest ByteFederal ATM and turn your cash to coin. ByteFederal has over 1,200 locations around the country with the highest daily limits. Go to our website, ByteFederal.com, to find the nearest ATM to you. Log in to any wallet, then create an account, deposit your US cash, and instantly convert it to Bitcoin. That's it. We are the only US manufacturer and operator in the Bitcoin ATM industry, and our US-based live customer service is second to none. Go on, give it a whirl, and don't get left behind. Click the link below.